after lying on his background check form about his mental health. He was suffering from a schizoaffective and bipolar disorders. He completed the 5-day waiting period, picked up his purchases, and drove across the state to Seattle.
But federal oversight of firearm dealers is minimal, so that Washington communities don't have a guarantee that the dealers adhere to best practices. This bill simply requires basic measures to provide firearm safety from getting into the wrong hands, mandatory anti-theft features, standardized record keeping, and reporting timelines for lost and stolen merchandise are sensible, necessary measures to prevent straw purchases and prevent firearms from criminal use to keep our communities safe.
And this does not include many other firearms that go unreported when they leave the employee. Excuse me.
The truth!
The stated purpose of House Bill 2118 is to prevent firearm thefts and straw purchases at dealerships. However, federal and state data clearly demonstrate that less than 2% of all firearm thefts in Washington state occur at FFLs. And given some of the earlier testimony on a previous bill, that 2% figure is probably overstated. The proponents of the bill claim that this video footage is necessary to investigate straw purchases, but unfortunately, according to the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, the number of instances reported by local law enforcement where individuals attempted to illegally purchase firearms, including straw purchases, but prosecutors chose not to prosecute the case, has grown by over 450% in the last 4 years.
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Mark Kreider. I'm a retired FBI agent and current sheriff of Walla Walla County. During the course of my career, I've investigated close to 1,000 bank robberies. And the only reason I mention that is in light of the video surveillance required in House Bill 2118 for FFL holders. There are absolutely no requirements for banks to have video or audio surveillance in their premises. In its entirety, 2118 is a rehash of the requirements already put forth by the ATF for all FFL holders. Its demands are unrealistic and draconian mandates that have zero law enforcement value and appear to have no other purpose than to put Washington FFL holders out of business. Asking for video surveillance inside a private residence of all doors, windows to record for 24 hours a day. This is an impossible intrusion on somebody's personal liberties inside their own home. 45 days to get video. I can tell you that in almost all incidences of any incidents at a gun shop, they are waiting for us when we arrive with a thumb drive with their video and audio surveillance on it for us. There's no reason for 2 years of video.
Go ahead, Heidi.
Good afternoon. My name is Heidi Lee Mitchell, co-owner of Sporting Systems in Vancouver and a passionate grandmother for gun ownership. House Bill 2118 is labeled as protecting the public from gun violence. So by violating Washington's two-party consent law of audio recordings, placing nefarious attracting bars on the outside of windows and doors, and requiring non-existent flood-proof safes for documents, you think you will achieve this. Give me a break. Requiring the extraordinary expense of years of video and illegal audio storage will do nothing to stop gun violence, just as Ring cameras do nothing to deter package theft from homes. Masks have become such an acceptable accessory, criminals get away with anything at any time. I've been in business for 10 years and never had a firearm stolen. As Representative Berry stated, the majority of stolen firearms are from vehicles. I abide by federal and state laws and provide necessary protection and education for my fellow community members. My store has bollards, interior bars, protective film glass, motion detectors, glass break sensors, interior and exterior cameras, a 24/7 monitored alarm system, and an in-store occupancy limit that we self-implemented years ago despite the many negative reviews we received for it. Thank you, Craig, for Saturday's one-star review. In October of 2022, we had an attempted break-in without entry, only broken glass. There is a BOLO for that vehicle. Let's hope they return to Washington and the police can pursue them. Every year I'm here fighting for my rights and those of my community. We are not the root cause of Washington's drastic rise in crime and death. Those of you that refuse to take a fact-based action over emotion are. I urge a no vote on House Bill 2118.
Me
maintain good records of their transactions, and promptly respond to law enforcement requests seeking information about crime guns. These common sense measures are necessary in our current environment. And research on licensed firearms dealers estimates that there are as many as 43,600 attempted straw purchases every year.
I would like to know, how did this person have this gun? What gives someone the right to have a gun and it's not authorized? Or what gives someone the authorization to even have a gun?
Her death was preventable, just like the 822 Washingtonians killed by gun violence every year.
The right to keep and bear arms is only secure if citizens can access firearms. This bill will drive Washington's lawful sellers of firearms out of business or out of the state. This bill will only further enable the illegal underground market. When there are no more gun stores in Washington and citizens cannot lawfully purchase a firearm, they can no longer exercise their right to keep and bear arms. This bill places the burden of criminal acts on already heavily regulated FFLs, and the cost will be passed down to consumers, which will make the right to keep and bear arms unattainable for lower socioeconomic communities.
Daniel Mitchell, 49th Legislative District, and speaking on behalf of the Washington Civil Rights Association and perhaps a voice for 1,300 small FFLs and gunsmiths across Washington state. HB 2118, legislation by Xerox, the copycat regulations of failed policies elsewhere across the country. Rather than applying logic and critical thinking to Washington's unique criminal issues, this body awkwardly plagiarizes California with another feeble virtue signal. I'll say the quiet part out loud. This bill, the intent is to destroy lawful access to firearms so that you can thrive in the chaos that follows. Disarm lawful citizens and leave them at the mercy of the criminals with only the government to come to their aid. What does this do to small home-based FFLs and gunsmiths? It's a death sentence, financial suicide. It's a bridge too far. Even if allowed by building and fire codes, sure, we can put bars inside of our homes on our doors and windows, install cameras and microphones inside of our homes, and submit ourselves to government demands to produce audio and video from inside of our homes. We'll apply ridiculous storage requirements for surveillance and flood-proof safes. Washington law enforcement destroys video after 60 days, yet you're asking us to hold it for 730. Even more Orwellian is compelling citizens to put surveillance systems inside their homes for government oversight. Driving lawful FFLs out of business only empowers a black market. How did that work during Prohibition? Relinquishing today's well-managed controls for chaos, empowering the criminal, and hobbling the common citizen, that's a great plan, but one well practiced by this legislative body. If you're concerned about the robbery and theft of firearms, perhaps you should fund law enforcement agencies to respond before 729 days pass by. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For those of you that don't believe that FFLs face scrutiny, let me say that again. 10 years in prison and $250,000 in fine. Those are the consequences that FFLs face every day for a mistake. Don't conduct a background check, 10 years, $250,000. Record the wrong disposition of a firearm, 10 years, $200,000, $250,000, and license revocation. Don't report a stolen firearm, 10 years and $250,000. Found to have acted negligent, same thing. Are you seeing a trend yet? Licensed firearms dealers are the first line of defense in maintaining the security and lawful transfer of firearms, and no firearms transfer is done legally in the state of Washington without us. So why would you possibly be motivated to pass this legislation and put us out of business? We aren't the problem. Locking firearms up in a particular manner or having security cameras on people who purchase firearms legally with background checks that the state of Washington approves doesn't stop crime.